All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today we're tackling something that might seem a little intimidating at first. But trust me, once we break it down, you'll be seeing those betting odds in a whole new light.
It's like learning a secret code, right?
Exactly. So we're talking about those mysterious numbers like fractional odds, decimal odds, all that good stuff.
And of course, we can't forget about Overround, the bookie's secret weapon.
Oh, yeah, that's coming later.
No.
Don't worry, we'll be exposing all the tricks of the trade today. But first things first, let's start with the basics for anyone who might be new to this world. When you see those fractional odds, like let's say 5-1, what's the story they're telling us?
Well, those odds are really all about potential profit. They tell you how much you stand to win relative to how much you put down.
Okay, so let's say I'm feeling lucky and I put down a crisp $20 bill on those 5-1 odds. What's my potential windfall?
Well, in that case, you're looking at a cool $100 in profit if your bet comes through.
$100. Not bad for a little wager.
Plus, you'd get that original 20 back too, so you're looking at a total of 120.
Oh, right, of course. I almost forgot about getting my initial bet back. So it's not just about winning, it's about how much you could win.
Exactly. And that's where things get interesting.
Because those odds aren't just some random numbers, they're actually hinting at something much deeper, something called implied probability.
Now you're talking. Implied probability is where the real strategy comes in.
So what we're saying is those odds give us clues about how likely an event actually is to happen.
Precisely. And knowing how to calculate that probability can give you a serious edge.
Okay, so let's break it down for the folks at home. How do we actually calculate implied probability from those fractional odds?
All right, so let's stick with our 5-1 example. We take that bottom number, the 1, and divide it by the sum of both numbers, 5 plus 1, which gives us 6. So we have 1 divided by 6.
Which comes out to?
Roughly 0.1667,
Sure.
or about a 16.67% chance.
So those 5-1 odds are telling us there's about a 16.67% chance of that event actually happening. It's like those odds are whispering the secret probability if you know how to listen.
Exactly. It's about deciphering the code
Yeah.
behind those numbers.
Okay, so we've tackled fractional odds, but what about those decimal odds you see over in Europe and other parts of the world? How do they fit into all of this?
Well, think of decimal odds as just another dialect in the language of betting. They're telling you the same basic information, just in a slightly different way.
Okay, so spill the beans. What's the difference?
Fractional odds focus on the profit you'd make on top of your bet, while decimal odds cut straight to the chase and show you the total potential return, including your original stake.
Gotcha. So with decimal odds, you don't have to worry about adding your bet back in. It's all right there in that one number.
Precisely.
Give us an example, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure thing. Let's say you see decimal odds of 6.0. That means for every dollar you bet, you'd get $6 back in total if you win.
Ah, okay, so that includes my $1 stake plus $5 in winnings.
You got it.
So it's essentially the same implied probability as our 5-1 fractional odds example, just expressed differently.
Exactly. Both types of odds are conveying the same fundamental idea, the likelihood of something happening.
It's like having two different maps leading you to the same buried treasure.
I like that analogy.
Speaking of probability, let's talk about how these odds actually play out in a scenario we can all relate to. The classic coin toss.
Oh, the coin toss. A perfect example to illustrate how odds reflect the likelihood of different outcomes.
All right, then. Let's flip a coin and see where we land. So we've got our imaginary coin here, all shiny and ready to go.
A classic. And for good reason.
Now, when we're talking about a fair coin, we all know it's a 50-50 chance of landing on heads or tails.
Right. Each outcome is equally likely.
And how do we express that in the language of betting odds?
Well, in fractional odds, we'd see 1-1, often called even odds, because the potential profit matches the stake.
So if I bet $10 on heads and win, I get my 10 back plus another 10 in winnings.
Exactly. And in the world of decimal odds, we'd see 2.0 for both heads and tails.
Meaning a winning $1 bet brings in $2 total, just like you said.
It all comes back to that same 50-50 chance.
But let's shake things up a bit. Imagine we're dealing with a slightly wonky coin, one that's been maybe tampered with a little, giving heads a 70% chance of winning.
Now we're getting into the realm of weighted probability.
So how do our betting odds adjust to reflect this new reality?
Well, they have to shift to represent that changed likelihood. Fractional odds for heads would become 3-7.
A bit lower than even odds, right? Because now heads is the more likely outcome.
Precisely. And tails with only a 30% chance would have fractional odds of 7/3.
So the odds even out to reflect which outcome is more probable.
It's a delicate dance between risk and potential reward.
And how does this all look in the world of decimal odds?
Decimal odds make it very clear. with our weighted coin heads would have decimal odds of about 1.43.
While tails would jump up to 3.33.
Exactly. Higher odds for the less likely outcome, lower odds for the more likely one.
It's like a seesaw, constantly balancing those probabilities and potential payouts.
You've got it. And that's why understanding implied probability is so crucial.
Because it's not enough to just look at those odds at face value. We have to dig deeper and uncover those hidden probabilities they're whispering to us.
Absolutely. And speaking of uncovering hidden things...
No, you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
To the bookmaker's edge.
You read my mind. It's time to unveil the mystery of Overround.
Because, let's be honest, the bookies aren't just in it for the love of the game.
They're running a business, and every business has its little profit-making secrets.
And Overround is one of the most fascinating ones, in my opinion.
So give it to us straight. What's the deal with this Overround thing?
It's all about how the bookmakers tweak those odds ever so slightly in their favor.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It all comes back to that coin toss example. Remember how we said the true decimal odds for a fair toss are 2.0 for both heads and tails?
Right, because each side has a 50-50 chance.
Exactly. But a bookmaker might offer odds slightly lower than that, maybe 1.98 for each outcome.
Okay, so they're subtly tipping the scales in their favor, but how does that translate into actual profit for them?
Let's say you decide to bet $10 on heads at those adjusted odds of 1.9. If you win, you'd get $19 back instead of the $20 you'd expect, with perfectly fair odds.
Ah, I see. So that $1 difference, that's where the bookmaker's making their cut.
Precisely. And when you multiply that small difference across thousands, even millions of bets, those profits really start to add up.
Wow, so it's like this hidden percentage point that always gives them an edge, even if it seems small. But how do they get away with it? Don't people notice those slightly off-kilter odds?
Well, it's all about finding that sweet spot, a balance between offering enticing odds to attract bettors while still ensuring a profit margin for themselves. And they do this by subtly manipulating those implied probabilities we talked about earlier.
So those implied probabilities, they're not just about understanding the likelihood of an event. They're also the key to unlocking the mystery of the bookmaker's margin.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
When you add up the implied probabilities from those adjusted odds, they'll always total slightly more than 100%.
And that extra percentage, that's the overround.
Bingo. That's the bookmaker's built-in profit margin, their secret sauce.
So it's like this invisible hand always tilting the playing field ever so slightly in their favor. It sounds like understanding Overround is crucial for anyone who's serious about betting.
Absolutely. Because knowing about Overround empowers you to shop around.
Yeah.
You can compare odds from different bookmakers and find the ones offering the best value for your money.
So instead of just placing bets blindly, we can use our knowledge of Overround to actually make smarter decisions. I like it. It's like being a savvy shopper, but for betting odds.
Exactly. Even a small difference in Overround can make a big difference to your winnings in the long run.
Especially if you're someone who bets regularly.
Absolutely. Those small margins really add up over time.
Well, I have to say, this has been eye-opening. We've gone from those basic fractional odds to uncovering the secrets of Overround.
We've really peeled back the curtain on the world of betting odds.
Absolutely. So what's the biggest takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Remember this, those betting odds aren't just random numbers, they're a language. Once you learn to speak that language, you unlock a whole world of understanding and strategy.
It's like having X-ray vision into the world of probabilities and potential outcomes.
And the best part is, this skill of deciphering odds isn't just limited to the world of betting. It can be applied to so many areas of life.
Okay, now you're really blowing my mind. Give us some examples. How can we use this knowledge in our everyday lives?
Think about investing. Understanding the odds and potential risks associated with different investments can help you make more informed decisions about your money.
So instead of just relying on gut feeling or following the crowd, we can use our knowledge of odds to make more calculated choices.
Precisely. Or think about health statistics. Understanding the odds of certain health outcomes based on lifestyle choices can motivate you to make healthier decisions.
So it's all about making informed choices regardless of the situation.
Exactly. It's about taking control, understanding the odds, and using that knowledge to your advantage.
It's about empowering ourselves to make the best possible decisions no matter what we're facing.
Now you're getting it. It's about embracing the power of knowledge and using it to navigate the world around us.
I love it. Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the ins and outs of betting odds, demystified the concept of Overround, and even discovered how this knowledge can empower us in various aspects of life.
It's been quite a journey.
to say the least. So to everyone listening, remember, those betting odds are more than meets the eye. They're a fascinating blend of mathematics, psychology, and even a bit of art.
Don't be afraid of them. Embrace the challenge, decipher their meaning, and use that knowledge to your advantage.
Wise words to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of betting odds. Until next time, stay curious and keep those calculators handy.